Hi guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Angel, and if you're new here, all I do is talk about books. And for today's video, I will be recommending the best romance books I've read so far. The first book I want to recommend is The Confidence of Wildflowers by Michaeli Smeltzer. This is an age gap romance, also kind of like a small town romance. The age gap is pretty big though. It is 18 and 31. This book is about Thayer and Salem. Thayer is Salem's neighbor who just recently moved into the small town, and along with him is his son who needs a babysitter. And that is where Salem comes into action and babysits his kid. They both just can't deny this attraction. One part that I really loved about this book was that Salem would always go for a run, like in the mornings, because she usually just cannot sleep or like go back to bed. So she runs throughout their little small town, and Thayer thought that that was so dangerous, so he built a gym in his basement for her to use. Like, is that not cute? But this book is part of a duology. The second book is called The Resurrection of Wildflowers, so it definitely leaves you off on a cliffhanger, making you want to pick up the next book right away. But yeah, at the end, there's a huge, shocking twist that really makes you want to read the next book. The second romance book I want to recommend is Things We Never Got Over by Lucy Score. Lucy Score just released the second book in this little series, and I'm in the middle of it, and I absolutely am so obsessed. But Things We Never Got Over is about Knox and Naomi. Naomi comes into the small town in hopes of saving her twin sister, because her twin sister is always known to be the troublemaker. She always needs help, and Naomi is always there to help her back up. But when she goes into the small town, she comes face to face with Knox, the small town's like grumpy, and he's yelling at her in the diner like, get out of here, I thought I told you to never show your face here. And Naomi's just like, what are you talking about? Like, I just got here. Like, I think you're thinking about my twin sister. And so both of their initial impression of each other weren't that great, but they definitely are forced to spend time together because Knox wants to get rid of Naomi's twin sister, and Naomi just wants to make sure that her twin sister is fine. Another twist is that Naomi's twin sister has a daughter and leaves her daughter in the care of Naomi and completely dips the town. So Naomi and her niece are stuck in town with Knox. The next book I want to recommend is 11 Other Words by Christina Lauren. If you have not seen this book anywhere, I think you are probably living under a rock because everybody loves this book so much. This book is about Macy and Elliot. They are childhood friends to lovers, but there is a huge time gap in between in this little book. Love in Other Words has two timelines, the past and the present, and they both kind of lead up to this little center point where it's just hazy, and we get to find out why they stopped talking for, I think it was like 11 years. This book is so wholesome and is such an amazing read if you are looking for something quick and something easy to get into, but I do warn you, it is hard to stop thinking about it, so I warned you. The next book I'm going to recommend is Stay With Me by Mila Gray. This book was one of the first books that I picked up when I started reading, and I'm so glad I picked up this book because I had like an obsession with Mila Gray, and let's just say she needs to come out with more books because I'm obsessed. Stay With Me is about Dee Dee and Walker. Dee Dee interns for a military hospital, and that's where she meets Walker, who literally carries all this guilt with him from the war, and he's kind of off limits. He's the grumpiest out of the grumpies in that little hospital, and Dee Dee knows to stay away from him because he's just bad vibes. But she does want to help him become better and improve his mental health and just kind of make him feel like he's not so alone. And with that being said, they start liking each other, but more conflicts just keep arising, and there's just so many reasons for them not to be together, but they just can't stay away from each other. The next book I want to recommend is definitely something that you probably will see a lot on TikTok, and that is Archer's Voice by Mia Sheridan. This book was such a roller coaster. I remember my emotions being like up and down. I was crying, I was laughing, I was smiling, I was hyperventilating, crying at 2 a.m. Like, it's just something that you need to read if you kind of want to feel everything in one moment. Archer's Voice is about Bree Prescott and Archer Hale. Archer is mute, so he communicates through sign language as a small town's like loner, which is really, really sad. But Bree moves into that small town and runs into Archer, and she's so intrigued by him. When they first met, she was coming out of their local grocery store, and Archer was just passing her car, and all her stuff fell out of her bag, like literally tampons. And I think it was like Twix or something. Like literally, it was just everywhere. And so he kind of stood there and was like kind of shocked that it all just kind of fell. And Brie was kind of like rushing, picking everything up, and she's like, "Oh my god, I'm so sorry. Like, I'm new here, blah blah blah." And he's kind of like astonished that she's so embarrassed in front of him. And so he helps pick up her things, and that's kind of it for like their first meeting. And there was a moment in the book where he brought up to Bree that nobody has ever felt embarrassed in front of him before. They were always embarrassed for him. And that's why he was so like in love with Bree. But this book is just so wholesome. There's so much drama with the town. There's so much baggage with Archer's family. And it's just a lot to unfold. But it's definitely such a wholesome read. It definitely gives off like summer vibes. So if you're looking for like summery vibes, this one's for you. The next book I want to recommend is Marriage for One by Ella Macy. This book was recommended to me by my friend Demi on Instagram, and I will forever thank her for showing me this book because it was so good. It was such a good marriage of convenience trope, and I eat that trope up. But Marriage for One is about Jack and Rose. Jack is like this rich CEO, and Rose is trying to inherit this property from, I think, like her grandfather's will or something like that. But in the will, it states that she needs to be married first. And so I forgot how they run into each other, but Jack and Rose kind of come into this little contract agreement of them getting married, and Jack will have this pretty little eye candy with him whenever he goes to events, and Rose will get the property for her dream bakery. And so it's just a win-win. But the only problem is Rose's ex-boyfriend keeps coming back into the picture. And so there's a little bit of jealousy, but Jack literally brings her flowers every week at her bakery, and he is like obsessed with like her whole bakery. She's such a businesswoman, and let's just say he's so in love with her because she tripped and fell in Central Park, and Jack received a call from a guy from Rose's phone saying that, "Oh, your wife hit her head pretty hard. Like, is there any chance that you can get here?" And instead of taking a car with New York traffic, Jack ran to Central Park. He ran to Central Park for her. If that is not love, I do not know what is. Next book I want to recommend is All Your Perfects by Colleen Hoover. This is a whole marriage and trouble filled book. Also, it's like second chance romance, and it's very heartbreaking. I honestly remember crying so hard towards the end, and it was just like I could not breathe. But All Your Perfects is about Quinn and Graham. They met each other in a very unfortunate kind of scenario. Both of their significant others were cheating with each other. They were cheating with each other on their significant other, if that makes sense. So they literally were sitting outside of Quinn's apartment, and they just got to talking. They literally were just talking, and they got Chinese food. Their cheating significant others ordered Chinese food, so they just ate it, and might as well because they're literally getting cheated on. But that's how they first meet, and then years later they're married. So again, there's those two timelines of the past and the present, and we kind of just hop back and forth between them dating and them in their troubling marriage, and literally it's falling apart. They don't know what to do, And there's also another problem that comes up, which is infertility issues. So that just adds on top of their problems, and it sounds a lot. It really was a lot, but it was a really good book. The last book I want to recommend is King of Wrath by Anna Huang. This is the first book of the King of Sin series. So can you just tell that I'm like obsessed with this book? I literally made it my whole personality on TikTok. But this book is about Dante and Vivian. They're in this business arranged marriage. Dante worked out an agreement with Vivian's dad, and Dante absolutely despises Vivian's dad, but he has like a whole plan to take down Vivian's like dad's like whole empire and stuff. It's definitely a marriage of inconvenience with like a revenge plan. And there's a lot of betrayals in here. And Vivian is Chinese, so she talks about all of the hardships of being an Asian daughter, especially to a dad who is literally business all the time. So I felt very like represented. So that was another reason why I absolutely love this book. I cannot wait for the next book. And I think the next book is called King of Pride. The two characters for the second book were mentioned in King of Wrath. So I'm really excited to see their story and their love story. But in King of Wrath, he is literally so rich and absolutely did not care about Vivian at all. So he picked out an engagement ring, set it on her dresser, and gave her his Amex card. Like, I'd take that any day. But that is the end of today's book video. Thank you guys for watching, and stay tuned for more. Bye!